On behalf of Fed Insider and CARAHCAST, we would like to welcome you to our mini-series, Headlines in Cybersecurity, which aims to translate the year's hot-button cybersecurity news stories into actionable steps state and local governments can take to protect themselves from attacks and recover when disaster strikes. Today's podcast, brought to you by Hewlett Packard Enterprise, is focused around ransomware. Journalist John Breeden will moderate as Josh Leeling, Assistant Director of IT and Cybersecurity at the U.S. Government Accountability Office, and James M.T. Morrison, Distinguished Technologist in Cybersecurity for the Office of North America, CTO at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, discuss their own efforts to combat ransomware and strengthen their system protections against it.
And hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm John Breeden, and I will be moderating what I know will be an interesting and lively discussion about the critical topic of ransomware and how to best defend against those kinds of attacks, how to protect your critical data, and what to do in terms of resiliency should the worst happen. It's both a critical and a highly technical topic, but we have two of the leading experts in this field to help fully cover this topic for us. So let's meet them, and then we can get started. I wanted to welcome Josh Leeling. He is the Assistant Director of IT and Cybersecurity at the Government Accountability Office. Josh, it's a real honor to have you with us on the show today to talk about ransomware.
It's great to be here, John. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. And I'm also proud to welcome James M.T. Morrison, a Distinguished Technologist for Cybersecurity with the Office of the North America CTO of Hewlett Packard Enterprise. James, thank you for taking the time to talk with us about this important topic.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Well, thank you both for being here. I do want to dive into this topic, but you both have such impressive backgrounds and credentials that I thought we should first let the audience get to know you a little bit better before we dive into the dark heart of ransomware. So, Josh, let's begin with you today. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in government and how long you've been the Assistant Director of IT and Cybersecurity at the GAO? And what are some of your current responsibilities at the agency?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question, John. I began my career in government in 2007 as an IT analyst at the Government Accountability Office. And over the years, I've contributed to and led projects looking at ways to improve major IT acquisitions, such as farm loan systems and weather satellites. I've also looked at addressing major IT management challenges, such as cost transparency and workforce planning, as well as projects related to enhancing cybersecurity across the federal government. And virtually, I've looked at all major federal agencies and their subcomponents in some way, shape, or form over those years. For the past 3.5 years, I've had the pleasure of serving as an assistant director in our cybersecurity audit function, where I lead about anywhere from 4 to 5 ongoing project teams. And also, I provide subject matter support to other mission teams within the GAO. For example, we have a natural resources and environment team that does work at the Department of Energy, and we have a defense capabilities and management team that does a lot of work with the DoD. And so those projects often require some technical assistance in navigating IT and cybersecurity related issues in their audits.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Josh. That sounds really interesting. And James, we also appreciate you being with us here today. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became the Distinguished Technologist for Cybersecurity with the Office of the CTO at Hewlett Packard Enterprise?
So I've been working for HP about 2 years now. Prior to that, I worked 22 years in the FBI out of the Houston and Albuquerque offices, working cybercrime cases, across the Southeast Texas area in particular. Worked a lot of, national security criminal cases, was sort of, instrumental, was part of that group that watching cybercrime sort of rise up out of its infancy in the 2013, 2014 era, in the beginning of ransomware in particular. Reverse engineering malware is one of my skill sets, and so one of the things we did early on was dissect ransomware and then attempt to track it back to its origins and work those kind of cases. With HPE, I've been working with across our industry, both from a federal sector as well as with the SLED groups, state, local, and education, to improve our offerings, and then also to start to have more of those, one-on-one security conversations. where are we going, what kind of transformations are groups trying to make, and then being sort of that trusted security advisor across North America. So that's been sort of my goal, is to really just not be as much product driven, but more services driven, and HP is really starting to stand up more of that account or professional services and security services organization to do exactly that. So
makes a lot of sense, and what an impressive background, James. Thank you. So thank you both for sharing those background stories. That's very, very impressive. You have great credentials for the show today. So many of our audience members are tuning in from state and local governments today, where they are dealing with the problems associated with ransomware. In many ways, they're very squarely in the crosshairs. So we will see if we can give them some good advice and help during today's show. Josh, just before we jump into that, since the GAO is a federal agency and most of our guests are coming from state and local governments today, some people may not be completely familiar with the GAO and its role. Could you maybe briefly explain what your agency's mission is and the kinds of things that you research and report on for Congress?
Sure, I'd be happy to, John. Thanks for the question. So the U.S. Government Accountability Office, the GAO, we're a nonpartisan legislative branch agency that provides Congress and the heads of executive agencies and the public with timely, fact-based information that can be used to improve government and save taxpayers billions of dollars. So from the IT side, we do a lot of reviews of major IT acquisitions and looking at things like modernization of legacy systems and the like. And what we'll do is we'll go in and, similar to IGs within a state or like your internal auditor, we'll identify potential issues and make recommendations that agencies can decide to implement and hopefully improve their operations. We've got a pretty good track record with, on average, 80% or more of our recommendations getting implemented. And each year we identify, upwards of 50 billion or more in potential financial benefits. And that doesn't even include the number of non-financial benefits that we provide through our cybersecurity related recommendations.